Mary, this is so fun.
Thank
Being
you.
surrounded by sheep and lambs, it's a great way to start a day. But I wanted to ask you, you've got all these sheep and you've got goats and you have horses, but where's the cow, my friend?
Unfortunately, the cow was a little bit too wandering and too destructive, so he went to a different home.
Well, then how did you switch over to sheep and goats and
Okay,
such?
so in the beginning, we were actually primarily a dairy goat farm. And as my kids grew up, they became 4-H'ers, and we started with chickens and dairy goats and horses. And then my son wanted sheep, and we started sheep, and then we progressed on to cows, and they were show animals. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And how many different breeds of sheep do you have?
Okay, so we have some influence of Ron Brulé, mostly Merino, Icelandic, and some Romney and Border Leicester, but mostly Merino.
Interesting. And I know merino wool, so you're basically keeping these sheep for the wool now?
That's exactly what we're breeding for, quality of wool.
And how do you do that?
Okay, so what we did was we influenced different rams. Like we have a Cormo ram, and he's been influencing our herd now. This is his 3rd breeding, so it's 2 years influence of Cormo wool on our product.
So you'll get this long wool that's very soft?
Long wool that's very soft and very fine.
But what else would influence the wool? Does diet or?
Diet definitely influences the wool. If you ever get wool that breaks, it's called wool break. It's from poor nutrition and poor health.
Interesting, just like human hair.
Just like human hair.
That's very interesting.
And then there's a lot to maintaining. Parasite control is huge. Making sure they have plenty of protein without going too far. You know, they're ruminants, so it's forage.
Exactly.
It's all about forage.
Giving them a good, solid, balanced diet will give you
Yes.
that beautiful wool that you're looking for.
Yes.
So how often do you shear the sheep?
We shear once a year. I like to go a little bit later than most people because
It's hot here.
it's hot here.
Yes.
But I like to go around April. So a lot of farmers are shearing in January. That's a little too early for me. So, and I lamb later too. I lamb in April, so I don't have to worry. I mean, we have some on the ground now, but you don't have to worry about the heat lamps and the cold night, wet night, things like that.
Well, I noticed there's a few lambs running around, and one of them is very black, but I don't see any black parents. Here he is.
Okay, so that's called natural color.
Uh-huh.
Okay, any other color but white is considered natural color. This is his mom, and his father is white. So this comes from her genes. He will lighten up and get browner. He's not a true black,
Okay.
but he'll be dark.
Okay.
So she started out completely black too.
And I see how brown she is now. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And if you open up her wool, I don't know if she'll let me. No.
Nope.
You can see that the top is sun bleached.
Okay.
So she's more like her legs underneath.
I see.
Yeah.
That rich, deep black
That
underneath.
rich, deep, yeah,
Oh, that's
coffee brown.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, that's gorgeous. Well, tell me, once you've shorn the wool, what are the steps? I see you've got some there.
Okay, so I do have some raw wool here. Well, the first step is easy because it's called skirting the wool, and you lie out your wool, you take off the head and belly wool, and then you take off any organic matter, pick out any organic matter that's in the wool.
Okay.
You lose about 50% of the wool in that.
Okay.
And then we take the head and belly wool and we actually use it for mulch.
In your garden.
So nothing goes to waste.
That is fantastic.
Yes.
How long does it last typically as a mulch? A year?
Over a year.
Okay.
So if I mulch in the fall, it's like peat moss in the spring.
Interesting. That's great. That's great. So you've picked the wool clean.
You pick the wool clean, then it gets washed, and we send it to a small spinnery. If you had only 1 or 2 sheep, you could easily process the whole thing and spin it into yarn or make it into
Yourself,
roving
yeah.
yourself.
I am amazed by all the colors in the wool.
Isn't it?
You've got white, you have tan, you have gray,
You
you
have
kind
gray,
of
and
a
this is
soft
like
yellow.
the lanolin.
Yes.
The yellow is the lanolin.
Gone is my thinking that sheep are white and that's all we get.
Oh no, not at all.
But I also know that you do dye the wool
I do dye the wool.
and you use a lot of natural plants to do
I
so.
do use a lot of natural plants, and I color fast with either natural tannins like vinegar and things like that. Yes.
So everything is natural and it's a big, real
Yes.
good cycle.
Good cycle.
Well, this is fun learning about sheep, but you also raise goats.
Yes, we do.
Let's talk about those.
Okay, let's go see the goats. We started out with 4-H and dairy goats and showing and milking and making cheese. And when my daughter, who had psoriasis and eczema,
Yes?
I couldn't get any relief for her from commercial or even prescription products, I started making goat's milk soap.
Interesting.
And then went on to lotions and other things as well.
Well, I'm fascinated because we have some of the soap here. You have two and I have two. And somebody's very interested in them.
You're not going to like it. Get down.
But I've got coffee here. You use quite a number of products to make the soaps.
We do. We like to use a lot of different products. We do use a lot of goat's milk. And there's a lot of enzymes and proteins and fats in goat's milk, which really makes for a nice product.
Does the diet of the goat affect the milk to the point where it's affecting the
not
soap?
only,
Or?
yes, you need a good diet. You need a good, healthy diet. In different breeds of goat, there's more butter fat in like a Nigerian dwarf or a Nubian goat.
Right.
But the quality and quantity of milk from your Alpine or your Oberhasli, that's an Alpine.
Thank you.
Yes. And, so different types of goats can change the quality of the milk.
So the consistency and the amount of fat in the milk, I would imagine, would affect
Yes, you have to adjust your recipe.
Yes, I would imagine that. Typically, how much goat milk do you use for?
We use about 30 ounces of goat's milk.
So this is very rich.
Very rich, yeah. This is our recipe, and it works for us.
So it's your recipe and makes it individual. That's
Yes.
fantastic. Mary, I also noticed that you have some gardens here. And so what plants do you use in the soap?
We grow mint, and we make mint tea, and we use the mint tea for the soaps.
Yum.
And we have lavender, and we have calendula, and there are several different plants we use to make our soaps too.
Oh, I bet you the fragrance is really enjoyable too.
Oh, it is wonderful.
Well, what a great way, again, that full circle of using everything here on the farm and to know that it's right here made in Hanover County. I thank you. I thank you for what you and your family are doing for our community, and I thank you for having us out today to share it with everyone.
Well, thank you for coming out on this beautiful spring day.